HAProxy is a free, very fast and reliable solution offering high availability, load balancing and proxying for TCP, HTTP and HTTPS-based applications. It is particularly suited for websites struggling under very high loads while needing persistence or Layer 7 processing. Let's open the pfSense interface now and start the HAProxy configuration. To be able to access the pfSense user interface, we should access it with its private interface using a VPN connection. As we advised on our previous tutorial videos, if you have not set up a VPN connection to your cloud yet, you can see the related video tutorial on our website amazenet.sa. Video tutorials. We recommend WireGuard VPN as it is the most easy one. In this tutorial, I will use my WireGuard connection that I have configured earlier. Let's open the Amazenet client area. And open the pfSense server details to collect the private IP address and the access credentials. Now I will open a new browser tab and type https:// the private IP address :444 and press enter. Then log into pfSense user interface using the credentials from server details. pfSense user interface will open. The HAProxy package is already installed in the Amazenet Cloud pfSense template. You can confirm that by opening the System menu, Package Manager, Installed Packages. You will find the package HAProxy Development is listed in the Installed Packages. The HAProxy configuration is under the Services pull-down menu. Let's now configure the HAProxy to redirect any HTTP connection to HTTPS. That will force any incoming unencrypted connection to use encryption. So in the front-end tab, click on Add. Let's give it a name as 80 and a description as HTTP to HTTPS redirect. In the external address section, we'll let the listen address as one address and port 80. Then in the Actions section, we'll click in the arrow to add a new action. Select the action, HTTP request redirect, and in the rule box, type scheme HTTPS. Then save. Then apply changes. This will redirect any HTTP request to HTTPS. Now let's do the configuration that makes requests coming to a specific domain gets forwarded to an internal web server, which is the very basic function that HAProxy does. For that, the first step will be configuring the internal web server or web application as a backend server in HAProxy. So navigate to the Backend tab and click Add. Give it a name like Backend 1. In the Server List section, click the arrow to add a new server. Give it a name as Server 1. The Forward to field. Select Address plus Port and fill the address and port for the web server. Like if the server is listening on HTTP, then give the port number 80. And if the server is listening on HTTPS, then give the port 443. If the server is using SSL, then click on Encrypt SSL. Then in the Health Checking section, select the health check matching the running service on your server. And to disable health check, select None. Then click on Save. and apply changes. Here I would like to mention that there is a bug in this package that if you edit a backend server it will be corrupted. So if you need to do any changes in the backend, then you should delete it and add a new one, instead of editing it. Next step is to add the front-end listener. So open the front-end tab and click on Add. Give a name for the front-end like 443. In the external address section, make sure the listening address is one address, IPv4, and the port 443. Enable the check mark on SSL offloading. In the access control lists, click on the arrow to add a new record. Give the record a name like Site1, and in the expression field select Host Matches. Finally, in the value field, give the URL that if a request matches it, then the action will be triggered. We will use in this video site1.amazenet.sa. Now let's configure the action. So, in the Actions section, click the arrow to add new action. Set the action to Use Backend, and select the backend. In this example, our configured backend is Backend1, and in condition ACL names, type the name of the access control list that we just created. In our example, Site1, the basic configuration for the front end is almost done. Still, we need to configure the SSL certificate to be used for the HTTPS encryption for connection to the mentioned URL. In our example, site1.amazenet.sa. So for now, save the front end and apply changes. Then we will work on getting the SSL certificate. The options are to import a certificate that you already have, or to use the ACM e-certificate service under the Services pull-down menu. To generate a certificate, with the ACM e-service you can generate a free certificate using many providers like Let's Encrypt. And the service also will renew the certificate automatically when required. In this video we will show you how to use both methods. Now we will import a certificate that we already have. So, click on the pull-down menu System and Certificates. Go to Certificates tab and click Add Sign to add a new certificate. In Method, select Import an existing certificate and give it a descriptive name. Here we will use star.amazenet.sa. As our certificate is a wildcard certificate for the domain amazenet.sa, keep the certificate type as PM and paste the certificate in the below text box. And its private key in the private key data box. Then click on Save. Now the certificate is imported. You can go back to HAProxy service and edit the created front end to use this certificate for the URL that matches this certificate. So click on Services HAProxy. In the Front End tab, click on the pencil to edit the front end. And scroll down to the SSL offloading section. In the Certificate menu, select the new imported certificate. Enable the check mark for Add ACL for certificate common name. And make sure that the check mark is enabled for Add ACL for certificate subject alternative names. And then save. And apply changes. Finally, open the HAProxy Settings tab. And check the Enable check mark. And specify the maximum number of connections allowed. We will select in this example 5,000 connections. And then save. And apply changes. Now at Firewall allow rules for HTTP and HTTPS connections from the Internet to the WAN address. Click on the Firewall pull-down menu and Rules. In the WAN tab, click on the down arrow to add the new rule. In the Destination section, select the destination WAN address and the port 80 in both fields. From and to. Give it a description as allow HTTP from the Internet. And then save. Click on the down arrow again to add the second rule. Select the destination as one address and port number 443 in the from and to fields. Give it a description as allow HTTPS from Internet. Save the rule and apply changes. With this you are done, and you can configure your DNS server by adding the A record that points the used URL to your cloud public IP address. And that part is out of our video scope. But here we will test if the A record is configured properly to point to our cloud public IP address. Using the nslookup. So open the command line and type nslookup, space, then the domain name we used. In our example site1.amazenet.sa, a resolve result from the DNS server should appear. And here we see the result IP is matching the VPC public IP address assigned to pfSense public interface. Now you can test the setup. Open a new browser tab and type the URL that we configured. You will see that it opens the web page hosted on server 1. There are many use cases and we can configure the HAProxy service to match our use case. Like if we have multiple domains on the same backend server. Or we may have multi-backend servers. And each has a different domain name. Or may we need to configure high availability for a domain or load balancing for a domain over multiple servers. And all using the same setup we just did. But with some changes to do the required functionality. But we will not show that in this video to keep it as simple as it could be. And we'll show it in advanced HAProxy configuration video. Finally, we will show now how to use the ACME service to generate trusted certificates using the free Let's Encrypt. For your information, ACME stands for Automatic Certificate Management Environment. We have a testing domain, 0506680.732.space. Registered for testing purposes, and its DNS server is hosted on Cloudflare. We will use it here to show you how could you generate trusted certificates using ACME. Now in pfSense, go to the Services menu and open the ACME certificates. At first use for the service you need to create an account key on Let's Encrypt servers. So open the Account Keys tab and click on Add. Give it a name like Production, and select the ACME server as Let's Encrypt Production ACME v2. Fill your email address in the email field. And click on Generate New Account Key. Then register ACME account key. And save. Go to Certificates tab and click on Add. Give a name for this certificate, like star.0506680.732.space. Select the ACME account we just created as production. In the domain SAN list, give the domain name as your domain name. In our example, 0506680.732.space. And select the method as DNS manual. Click on Add to add new SAN in the list. And give the domain name as star symbol. Your domain name to request a wildcard certificate for your domain. In our example, we should type *symbol.0506680732732. And select the method as DNS manual. And in certificate renewal after section, give the value 60 to make the server renew it every 60 days. Then click on Save. Now you need to issue the certificate, but during the process you will need to add a new text record to your DNS server. And as the testing domain has its DNS hosted on Cloudflare, then we should open the Cloudflare portal and navigate to the DNS settings. In your case, you should open your domain DNS server page. Here I have my domain DNS page opened. Now in pfSense we can click on the Issue button. Your server will communicate with Let's Encrypt server, asking it to issue the requested certificates. And a response from the server will appear on the screen. You will notice that at the middle of the response, a line with "Add the following TXT record." And in the next line you will see the TXT value for the record you need to add in your DNS server. The number of "Add the following TXT record" lines in the response, matching the number of records you added in the certificate request. In our case the requests are 2. So you should see 2 lines with "Add the following TXT record," and each one followed with a TXT value. So you need to add the both values in your DNS server, each one in a separate text record. Now on my Cloudflare account I'll add the records by clicking on Add Record. Select the type as text. I will give the name as _ACME-challenge, as mentioned in the Let's Encrypt server response. Also will copy the value and paste it in the value field. And save the record. Again I have to add the second record the same way. When done we'll get back to pfSense and click on Renew. You will see this time the response from the Let's Encrypt server with the certificate issued and added to the pfSense certificates, and is ready to be used. Go ahead to Systems, Certificates, and you will find the newly issued certificate available in the list. Now let's go to HAProxy and edit the front end, adding an access rule that redirects requests with the domain 05066807332. To the backend server, and add the certificate we just created to the additional certificates. So go to Services, HAProxy, click on the pencil next to the 443 rule. In the Access Control List section, click on the arrow to add a new record. Give the record a name like Site2. And in the expression field select Host Matches. Finally, in the value field, fill the domain name 05066807332. Now let's configure the action. So, in the Actions section, click the arrow to add new action. Set the action to Use Backend, and select the backend one, and in Condition ACL Names, type the name of the access control list that we just created. Scroll down to Additional Certificates section. Click the arrow to add the new certificate. Select the certificate we just created. Enable the check mark for Add ACL for Certificate Common Name, and make sure that the check mark is enabled for Add ACL for Certificate Subject Alternative Names. And then save and apply changes. Make sure that the domain name we just added has an A record in its DNS that points to your cloud public IP address. And if not, then add it. With this setup is done, and you can test it by opening a new browser tab and visit the domain. Till here we show a tutorial on how to configure HAProxy to redirect front-end requests to a back-end server with single or multi-domains. And we showed how to use a CME to issue trusted certificates from Let's Encrypt servers and renew it every 60 days. Thank you for watching our videos, and please do not hesitate to contact us for any required support.